and then they distribute it across to their respective chairs. This year, whereas the approved, and when we say approved, so you chair people will send it back to your deans, and they will review it. You'll review it together, and we in research will get the approved templates back by April 28th. And then we spend our summer reading all of this and going through all of this. And so then, any edits, fonts that go out of line. So that's pretty much how we spend our summer. And we have that sent to the executive committee to review as of July 10th. So we give them a month to review the document then. And then we'll get it back a month later, and then there's always some discussion back and forth or certain changes or edits that are going on. And then we have to have it to ICCB by September 1st. So any questions on the schedule? It's pretty much been well ingrained, I think, over the last 5 years. So we appreciate all the support. So I'm just going to kind of talk about, this is, the overall concept of what is going on with this program review. So we like to say that, again, I put it into the idea of a thought process first. So basically, the templates fit this thought process. So we go back and you're going to review the previous report, and that's sent to you. And that's the sign that says, what did we say we were going to do 5 years ago? So we're looking at that, and then we're going to come back here, and then we're going to look at, well, what did we do in the last 5 years? And that's the guts of this report. So all of the detail you're going to be putting in really ends as of, for this year, June 30th, 2022. So it's not what you're working on this year even. It ended as of the 22nd. And then what we're working on this year is the end of the report that says, what do we plan to do in the next 5 years? So that's a full cycle that we're going through. So we say, what did we say we were going to do? What have we done? And what are we going to do in the next 5 years? This is the commercial part that says, what do we have to do? This is what we hear from ICCB. So your answers need to be concise. They don't want you to copy any data into it. So by data, we mean any large inclusions or something that you find on the web. Things need to be fit into this cell. And so they ask not to copy in data and to use your words, just summarize what you may have and find. So, I mean, as it is, it ends up being about a 300-page report. So being concise is really important. Within each of the templates, you'll see that I've put in some comments. They're hints, and they're in bracketed comment areas. So it may say, use the previous report to answer this question. So we'd like you to remove any of those bracketed comments as you add your comments. They actually say there should be no blank responses. And by that, pretty much, if you really think through a lot of the questions, it may not sound so specific. It may be easy to say, we don't really do this. But if you think through it and twist the question, make it important to how your department or your program can be answered for this. Should be very few not applicables. Is this program funded by a grant? It may not be. So that actually is available. You can use the not applicable for that answer. But overall, mostly every question should be answered. Yes.
So I just did all the Perkins.
Oh,
This is almost.
Well, you'd think they blended together.
Yeah, that's what Jennifer and I were saying. But in Perkins, to answer the questions, we did links to documents that they can open if they want? Is that
No,
acceptable?
yeah,
They don't
not
want
in the
that here?
ICCB, no, that won't work in the ICCB program review. So you're right, and that's like what you have to do in Perkins, I do know
Yes.
that. But no, within this is so we really PDF this and then it becomes just one stream of a report.
Okay, so one
And
problem.
yet, so therefore, I'm sorry, so that means whatever you would have probably used as a link on that, that's what we don't want to copy and paste into a cell. So then you
don't
can
wanna
just
overload.
summarize it.
So summarize.
And again, for your own purposes, you can state what document you're getting it from. This isn't really, I mean, the most important person this is for you.
Yeah,
for
but
next
that's
year.
what web links.
Yeah, but not
That I got
not
data
this.
from.
Yeah, okay, right, but that's not the format for this report.
Really? They don't want to
Yes.
see that I wasn't making up numbers?
And,
Okay.
yeah, so your numbers will be the way you really summarize and discuss it. Now, again, for your purposes for 5 years from now, you may want to write in there, I went to, go to this, but they're not going to go to your links as part of the report review.
Okay, that just is
Creating
crazy,
them-
because I could make up any numbers about employment growth.
Well, but it's for your own purpose.
Okay,
I mean, we don't want to go back in 5 years and say, this was
Okay.
a wonderful program that we had to close.
yeah, so this is probably not you, but what I'm having trouble with, and this goes back, I'll go to Paul. This goes back to, you have to list all the classes in the program. I can no longer copy it from the website and paste it, because it came out at 4 pages long.
Right.
So now I have to retype everything.
What is the question saying? What court? I don't-
It's under the one, were prerequisites for this program, placement scores, and then I asked for a list of the classes. This question, program review analysis.
Okay.
I took off your bracket, but,
Thank you.
but, like your example for culinary was they listed all the classes, which means, I guess I have to hand type it in, write the credit hours and the name.
You can cut and paste that.
No, because it comes out 4 pages long. Here, I did it.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be formatted from the,
So-
I mean, again, you can come to us and we can create something that would be more in a Word format, cut, paste.
Copy paste it in a notepad. It will drop all of the formatting. It will only leave the text. Then you can copy from the notepad to that document. Won't have to type it in.
We'll talk after, so I don't know where the notepad is.
Yeah, yes, thank you. So that's what I was thinking. Somehow we can reformat it so
Yeah,
that it's not.
because that, if you take it from our website, it just,
Yeah.
it doesn't fit, it becomes long.
Correct.
That's why I was asking about the links.
Yes,
If you do a
okay.
PDF, yeah.
Right, yeah, and that's also what I'm saying about not including that kind of data into this, so thank you for being aware of that. We don't want that.
Okay, so I don't want to put the website where I got all the employment data. Or should I write?
As well, answer that question, I believe we have provided you with the employment information. So
The
we
demand
have the,
data,
right, the demand data
Yes.
for each program. So you should have that as part of the package you receive.
Yes, it was somewhat incomplete.
well, I was gonna say, a lot
So I
of
went
them
to
do go
your
to their
US Bureau
own
of Labor
sites.
Statistics. I got more information because it wasn't very much. there.
Sure. Now, and how much was like included in something like that to copy and paste that in?
I don't have that much space.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate, if that is covering what you're covering.
It covers it, so I just don't need to list the.
It's just when it gets off formatted like that, when you copy and paste from a web
Well,
page.
that's what, that was the,
Yeah, so that's different. But if you can copy and paste it from something and have it formatted while it's in the cell, that works. Okay, thank you. Okay, so these are all great questions and they're specific, I think, to everybody's little area. But we also have, well, let me just cover the basic structure of each of these forms. So this is the CTE form. So the CTE form has the review analysis, which again is when we're going back and looking at the previous report. And then the 3 indicators of the need, the cost effectiveness, and the quality. That's really the body of all of these templates. And then I just have this little red section that says the last question at each of those indicators is like a summary question. So as you go through that, you're going to kind of say, now, what did you learn about the need that you just talked about? And so there's little summary questions at the end of each of those sections. So you're thinking about, as you write it, what is this telling me about the need of this program, or the quality of this program? And then we go into the data analysis, and all of the data should be loaded into your programs. Those are the enrollments, the course success, the enrollments and the completions. And then from that, they're going to ask you questions about, how has this data helped you look at the gaps of the program? You have your disaggregate data, and you're looking at the gaps. You're comparing the enrollment to the completions, and just really, doing some analysis about how well are we doing. And then the third section is the review results. You're going to give an action plan, a summary, and a rationale, and intended action steps. So that's the part where you're really going to think about what are we going to do in the next 5 years. So that's for the programs, CTE programs. Academic discipline has a similar structure. You're going to review first. You're going to talk about the need, the cost effectiveness, and the quality. And then you also have your summary section for intended actions and rationale. Some of these, I think they now have added resources that you may need, and who's responsible for these areas. And then the cross-disciplinary, so this is our Dev Math for this year. Again, similar structure. I guess this is where it was, the resources are needed and the responsibility. I don't have all the forms stuck in my head. So, but similar structure. The data here, we're giving you the enrollment, the credit hours produced, and the success rates. So that success rate may be different than the course success report that we generate, but that's an ICCB definition that we use for that. So they're all really great. And then your review section. And then the student and academic support, again, similar review. We have our 3 indicators, and then so previous review, and then the future. As far as the supporting documents, so we have sent out the final review from most of these programs were done in FY18 up through 17. And we were sending out the demand data from Lightcast, which is the software that we use within the department. But that doesn't mean you are restricted to only using that data. Like Francis said, if you have a place that you go to for your demand data, you can use that. The cost report. So the cost shows us a relative cost factor, and there's a whole section in each of the reports. You're taking that data and breaking it down and putting, it's called fill in the blank section. So that really is showing ICCB how we're comparing our costs. We have institutional RC relative cost factor, and you can do a comparison of your program to the institutional.
I have a question about this. Last time, I was still being charged for the building.
Oh, okay.
And I can't tell if that data has been correct or not.
Sure. And we do get like the square footage from IT, and it is a formula that's based on your number of hours and what room you're using and how square footage you're
Right.
using. And so, I mean, that's coming right out of the courses that I can gather, so go ahead.
I mean, I was being charged more than Antigone last time. And I had one little room, smaller than this. So I'm looking at the numbers of different programs. I'm trying to figure out if they're how they're charging it correctly.
Sure, sure.
Which affects the cost of
It
it.
does, yeah, yeah. And I think we're looking at that for Vic anyway, but, yeah, I think, please let us know. Yes, again, we're trying to recreate it anyway, but right now, IT does run that data for us. Yes, Paul?
You know, for the, to Francis's earlier comment about the CTE and pertinence and stuff, it is all starting to meld together. So the reports that you use for current tech, you can use some of those for here. Right?
Yeah, some of the questions are very different.
Yeah, but some
I
of the
did
stuff,
take some of the stuff directly from.
Yeah. the CLA that's done every 2 years, you can use some of that data and the program of study information that each of the CTE programs put together. It's supposed to be a living document. That information can be used for this stuff.
Yeah, I did copy some of that, some of the questions. I have specific questions that don't make sense to me, but I want to
Okay,
see some.
oh, good, okay.
Yeah. So at some point, we might want to just take that up as a suggestion, because we'll have 25 departments or so that can access that information from Perkins, and that might be great.
That would be a great cross-reference. I mean, we already have a cross-reference of how this is used with HLC, so, you know, certainly that would be helpful, and we're glad to sit with you, to work with you on doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think
And then we'll run a test
duplication.
and see if it passes the smell test. The really ones.
Yeah, okay, terrific, thank you. So I kind of would like to know how we want to progress, because I don't want to spend time on just a CTE program when we have this. Is there any supporting documents that we'd like to look at? Francis, do you want to go ahead and ask your questions? Maybe that
Well,
will
I
help
highlighted
guide
the
us
ones
through
that-
some of these questions. And yet, and Beth, I want to make sure you're okay with your academic support area.
I have questions as well, but they're very specific, specific to our program.
Well, this one I think is for everybody. How are needs changes evaluated by the curriculum review committee and campus academic leadership? I think that should be a general statement from the college, not from me. Because the curriculum committee is not going to treat Beth any different than they are me, right? And I don't know how the campus academic leadership evaluates this. So I feel like that's not my question. So that's one, that's number
Okay.
1.5.
And then so
1.5, you said? I don't have that question.
That's for CTE.
CTE, so yeah.
I
Oh,
don't have
CTE
1.5.
could be different?
Yes.
Yeah,
Each
they
template is
pretty
different.
much are. Maybe we're gonna open up, let's open
But
up.
for CTE, it wouldn't change from department to department.
Can you read from the same?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So CTE, and then, can we kind
So
of
how are
tile
needs
this,
changes
and then
evaluated by the
student
curriculum
academic
review
affairs, that's
committee
one
and
of this person.
That's for you to ask, not me, right? So I'll
Well,
say,
that's,
I'll push this
And
forward.
then,
that's,
the
yeah,
academic
as you said, it's
discipline.
more.
I mean, it should be the same
like-
answer for everybody, right?
It's something we should be discussing. in the-
Can we tile that to maybe bring up through? So 1 point,
I agree with the answer, but I don't have a question. I'm just kind
Oh, let me see if I have one that you have.
This question good for us.
But you know, MaryLou, before we get into even the
Yeah, do it.
specifics on that, I would tell everybody, you're really good at getting these out to folks with a couple of months to work on it. And I'd encourage everybody to look through it as soon as you get it, because you'll be lulled into a false sense of security. You'll think that you have more time to get it done than you do.
yeah.
And then when you actually get around to it, you realize the kind of data you need, you suddenly think, oh gosh, maybe I don't have the time to pull together all the information I need. So I encourage you to take a look at it first to see what your data needs are.
Sure,
and get those requests out. And then you've got the leisure, once you've got those data requests in.
sure,
And you've already figured out something that,
yeah,
it's good to make a calendar reminder, maybe once a year, take a look at what your plan was and see if you're keeping
Sure.
on it, like we do every year with our budgets. Are we staying to plan? Have we adjusted it? You don't want to be surprised by that.
sure.
You guys, of course, corrected and don't renew what you said you'd do in your last 5 years.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, Paul. Unfortunately, we are here 2 weeks before, and that's why we like to have this out, but, yeah, it is more overwhelming, but I think everyone's been working on Perkins or something else too, so, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm new, I've not seen or done this. What resources do I access this
Sure.
content?
So you're gonna be doing DMS, which,
Surgery,
as,
SSC.
as the
So it's
USPT?
very different than it was 5 years ago, but if you keep the one for 5 years ago, some of those same questions have similar answers.
And that would all be within the packet that was probably all sent out to Pam?
Well, there was the email and it looked like DMS was already completed in the attachments.
Yeah.
But that's not related to me.
DMS was completed?
It was, I didn't know I thought it was related to the class. I didn't know it was like a job I had to do something. I thought it was preparatory for the class, like, oh, look at this, they're like educational.
Oh,
Like, here's an example of an exercise. I didn't know it was a thing I had to do, like, for real.
Sure. You know what, I'm gonna suggest you go back and look at all your documents, and then we'll be glad to come and give you some time. I'm glad to come and give you some time.
Okay.
I think, coming here with at least an idea of what needs to be done, and then we can really focus in on, now once you know it. And then you can read the hints, you can read what, we've suggested. Some of those hints actually aren't even bracketed, so as Francis was saying, we've put in some institutional data, and then you will say at the program or department level, this is what we did, and then we'll answer it for it at an institutional level, like professional development, I think is one of the questions we say at the institutional level. We have a professional development department and all that, but then prior to that, in brackets would say at the department level. So, we've tried to put in some of those institutional statements.
Are you still processing your search tab?
Search tab.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're also going to be able to find a lot of the annual reports that have been filed for your department, for your accrediting bodies. And you have your ARC. Yeah, I think the ARC reports, all that is probably going to be a lot. It's very helpful too, because everything, all those stats, a lot of what you're going to need in those reports, I think you'll be able to pull from those that have been filed each year by TK in the past.
What kind of time frame am I looking to, like, how many hours does it take to complete this thing?
Yeah, I guess it depends.
I'd give yourself at least
20 hours?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, over a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You do a little bit, you think about it, do a little bit.
Yeah.
And it does take, I think, sitting chit-chatting back and forth with somebody, and that's why it's really important to then get to your dean once you do fill out half of it. Because,
Get part of it done and keep it again.
but she's got to sign off on it, so, we won't really take it until it comes from her. So.
Part of it's finding where the information is, then selecting the information, and then just thinking of it. But,
Yeah, that's really weird. I can fill it in, I just don't know where to find the data.
The hard data, like if you're looking for numbers, that should have been supplied with your packet. So demand data, your course success information, everything would be
Breakdown of by race.
And the previous
Shows
report,
it shows the breakdown by male, female, it shows the completion rates.
Okay.
That should all be buried in your packet.
So please refer to the attached documents. So that provides a lot of information.
But that should be pre-populated in your.
And in your template also it's pre-populated.
Oh, thank you.
So like,
Yeah, that's what I saw.
you're supposed to look at the discrepancy of race in your program.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think my discrepancy is a very good thing, because we're overrepresenting Hispanic population, and our profession wants that group. So I wrote it that way, because that was a good thing. That we weren't mainly a bunch of white men.
Sure. So a lot of the gap data, so if it's, 98% male in your program and, Triton is really 45% male, then you want to say, why is there a gap and what are you doing about it? But if that's a good gap, then.
Well, mine was the race.
Correct, okay, race, yes, so, and those are the two we give, gender and race, so. Right.
I want to know, like, are we just, if we are no longer offering courses that are listed, then are we just providing a justification for why we no longer offer them in here?
I would say so, yes. So if they were active.
And that's
within-
like a goal for the future?
That would be your action plan, to remove this course or no longer offer this course. But if you've had enrollment within the last 5 years, even 4 years, you've already, you have the data, so you have to say, we did it for those 5 years.
And then my other question is, very, very specific, sorry, but I think it's a quick one. So the one mistake, the course that we don't offer,
Correct.
should I delete that from mine or just highlight
Sure.
it in red and say
Yes.
this is incorrect? Or what?
Okay, so yes, so actually, I saw exactly what happened. So that data needs to be in 341.
I did that.
Oh,
That's not a
okay.
problem.
So then, yes, you could go and delete that. If you don't want to delete it, I'll delete it when you
Okay.
turn it in.
So I'm just saying, how do I
Yes,
submit that?
yes.
So just, okay.
Yeah, so that's what we'll be looking at in that month, and we're looking at this report.
So what I'm creating is a final document. It has other eyes on it. That will
Correct.
Catch anything.
Correct. It goes through us as a read, and then we send it up, and Mary Reed and Susan Campos and Joey, and I think Sean even does some of the reviews of it too.
What
So-
about courses that have been created that aren't in there? Do we just mention that as that's what we're gonna do in the future?
Yes, that would, yeah, so again, it's kind of hard to stop and think, this ends as of June 30th, 2020, but if you've created new courses even in 2022, yeah, that's all part of that write-up. And what you're working on
But
currently.
it stops June 30th, 2022, right?
Correct,
Okay.
That's where all your data is pulled from, the last fiscal.
correct, yeah, so that was the last of the 5-year review that we're looking at. And that's the hard part, I think, is well into 2023 at this point, but the report really goes to the end of 22.
And then one other question, sorry. We have, Tuan is working on developmental math, I'm working on the college level math. However, we have 3 courses that cross over. We have those 3 co-recs. So can we both speak to that, or because the support course is in his?
Sure.
No, we're both speaking to that, okay,
I would say yes, yes.
okay.
So there's nothing wrong in repeating or singling.
And again, the most important is to think, who's going to be reading this in 5 years? And that's the information we really want to pass on. So where we're reading now in 5 years, which goes fast, but that's what we need to get to. Do you have any questions? You're sitting nice and quiet, Lauren.
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Paul and I are gonna have a wonderful conversation tomorrow during our one-on-one.
I think that's a word.
Thank you.
And
We have a remote participant. Do we have a remote participant?
Yeah, there was somebody.
I forgot about that.
No? Okay.
Yes. Laura?
No, do we have a remote participant? Do we know?
Yeah, there was somebody.
Remote,
RAS?
We have 2 people, yes, Mr. Panis and Ms. Elkins.
okay.
Okay.
Looks like
So
you have
they
them.
have any questions?
Mary or Thomas, do you have any questions?
You can click on the little heads.
Oh, this is Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Welcome.
At this time, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to see if there was anything additional that you needed to add since I did this report a few years ago. And at this point in time, none. Thank you.
I agree. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the CT really hadn't changed. Thomas?
Looks like Thomas left the building.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes.
If you don't mind. It's 3.8. I think someone mentioned it, but from the ASC, how should we put, like, what type of data was collected, measured, evaluated to assess program surface effectiveness, or no, this, like, can we put, like, the, how much number of students we serviced every year?
Yes.
Sure.
So for academic support, we don't have a lot of data we can provide institutionally. So if you have data locally available for your own assessment, you can use that data.
And how we assess program effectiveness. Can we say, like, how much money, or just how can we say we were effectively effective? Just the number of students and the money, or should we put money, or just
Well, the money part of it, but in terms of success, this is for any specific service or tutoring. So if you have any performance measures, that what percentage of students who have completed tutoring have completed the course successfully, that would be one measure. So things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we read that report.
Yeah.
We have run that report. I don't know
Yeah.
the last time we ran it, or. if that's-
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
So we should be reflecting.
and the equity gap.
Where's the mean?
Equity gap is 3.10.
Again, if you have some data available of students who have used this service, then we can put information on the different student groups, like their race, ethnicity groups, gender, also first generation, that kind of student groups. We can put information on them based on that. We can look at whether is there any gap in terms of students receiving these kind of services.
Did you get that? The 3.10 is now the
The schedule?
opportunity to close the gap to provide a good football access.
Yeah.
So that's
going to be based on what we find out, right? But you might be already doing something about it, like reaching out to different instructors and promoting tutoring, that would be in general helping to reduce.
And 3.11, how does the program also result any equities or instructional programs if appropriate?
Yeah.
I think that's something, again, after we have the data, we can look at some of the general programs. You don't have to refer to specific, you can even refer to some of the institutional effort in that. So even if it's not very specific to your area, so you can always include some institutional things.
So you're doing SRT, so here's the full
So
schedule.
from the tutoring data,
Okay,
we should,
so there should be a report from 5 years
we should
ago,
send,
and this will be in there. So that was sent in the packet, Pam should have dispersed it to everybody. Yes. So I was thinking SBT and I didn't remember SBT, but SRT, I think.
Yeah, SBT just like started up again this spring.
Okay, but it was around, so, okay.
Yeah.
Must have a different zip code.
March 2021.
Is SPT in there somewhere? Can you look in some of the other columns? Just scroll up to the bottom. It's gonna be bottom.
So the other thing is, like, for the.
No, I'm gonna bring it to the library. SPT was supposed to be on there
It's
too.
almost
We're
identical.
reporting on historical data, not like future plans.
Both. So what we did, what we said we were gonna do 5 years ago, what we did in this 5-year period, and what we're gonna do.
Exercise is good for us, but when you say be brief.
But except, even being brief, this is 3 times longer
I
than
think I
5
caught
years
up
ago.
on stuff.
So if it was 300 pages 5 years ago.
Yeah, in one day.
That's how it's the law, right? When the resources get more constrained, you gotta.
Current expenditures.
Unless you took out the questions, then it's 1.6 and then it's
There you go too. So are there any more questions? I know we got some specifics here, but I just want to make sure if you want to see anything else up here, or shall we just have some quiet conversation? Okay.
I think what you provided was very, very helpful. This is something I need to sit with, you know what I mean, and work through and have more specific questions.
Sure,
And I can reach out, I assume, to.
exactly.
Who I need to reach out to?
Yeah, well, we're here if you need us, and Jeanette is there. I'm offering her services. She's there.
I already volunteered her.
Yeah. And actually, Jeanette, you're turning it in, so when we know we get it, that you have reviewed it. So that is the most important thing too. The most important piece that we've added in the last couple of years, because we used to get them all, and we realized deans weren't seeing them. So it is important. It's an important conversation back and forth. Easy for me to say. I appreciate your time, and we'll come around if you want to talk about anything, but I appreciate your time, and I thank you for those of you online. If you're still there, Mary, thank you.
Thank you, MaryLou.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.